In this lesson, we're going to look at how we can find the equation of a line from a graph. Okay, to do this, we need to go back to our point gradient form. This is the form we're going to be using once we work out the gradient and y-intercept. So once we work out the y-intercept, which is our c, and the gradient, our m, we can put them into this equation. This is a summary of what we need to do. We first want to find our gradient. We also want to find our y-intercept, and then we put them into that equation. So here we have an equation. We're going to follow the steps. We can, when we're doing this, to find our gradient, which was the first step, you need to just choose 2 points. I would suggest that when you're choosing points, you're choosing ones that have whole numbers if possible. So here I can see that this point here is going to be 0, 1, and this point up here is going to be 1, 4. And they're 2 whole numbers. So I'm going to choose, so I've got the points here, 0, 1, and here I have 1, 4. Now we need to find the gradient. So remember the gradient formula was going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we can substitute in our values. These are of course our y2 and x1, y1. So we can then put in our values. So we're going to have 4 minus 1 over 1 minus 0. So it's going to come to 3 over 1, which is 3. So we know that our gradient is going to be 3. Our y-intercept is this point here. So our c is going to be a value of 1. And now we can put it into this equation. Y equals mx plus plus c. Y equals 3x plus 1. And that's the answer. Okay, so we're going to find the equation of this line now. I'm going to find the gradient by using the point of the origin, 0, 0. And I'm also going to choose this one. And this is 2 minus 1. So we put them into our equation. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which is going to give us minus 1 minus 0 over 2 minus 0. So it's going to give us minus 1 over 2. And then that's our gradient. You can check that by looking at your graph and seeing if it makes sense. So remember, our gradient is our rise over run. So we can see that it's rising minus 1, so it's actually the opposite of rising 1, and then it's running 2. So we can see that that gradient is going to be correct. Now, our y-intercept is very easy. It intercepts at the point 0. So we then get the equation y equals minus a half x plus 0. So we can simplify that to y equals minus a half. And that's our answer. Okay, now have a go at finding the equation of this line. All right, I'm going to use these points, 0 minus 1 and 1 minus 3. Now put them into the equation, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We're going to get y2 is minus 3, y1 is minus 1. So we're going to get minus minus 1 over 1 minus 0. Now, 3 minus minus 1 is the same as 3 plus 1. Sorry, minus 3 plus 1. So we're going to get minus 2 over 1. We can check it's going down 2 and then running 1. So that is our gradient there. We can rewrite that as minus 2. Our y-intercept is easy to find. It crosses at minus 1. Y equals minus 1. So we're going to get y equals minus 2x minus 1. That's the final answer. All right, finally have a go at this question. Okay, so we can use this point and this one here, but I'm going to use a different way to find the gradient. I'm just going to look at how much it runs across, how much run and rise we get from this point to this point. So it's rise over run. We're rising up 3 and we're running across 1. So we get that. So our gradient is going to be 3. So if you understand that process, it can be easier to use than the whole equation we used before. Now the y-intercept we can see is here at y equals 2. So our equation is going to be y equals 3x plus 2. That's the end of the video. If you have any questions, please bring them to me. Otherwise, keep working through the activities.